Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories, opinions, and beliefs expressed are not the only possible interpretation. Viewers are invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
If what you are about to see is real, it's the most startling film footage in history. Although we remain skeptical, some experts believe this is authentic footage of an alien life form. Real or not, we must warn you. This appears to be an actual autopsy. And some of the footage you will see in the next hour is very gruesome. Stay with us as we put the question to you. Alien autopsy, fact or fiction?
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hey, smoke weed every day. Welcome to Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host,
Samba.
Here we go again. We're back. We took a little time off. Had a little break last week to keep our minds right, keep our mind focused on the prize. You know, we had a lot of stressful things happening in the past week, but now we're back. We're here. We're ready to talk about some alien autopsies. So I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 if you'd like to call in. 9:30, opening up the phone lines for everyone. It's going to be open lines, so please give me a call over here at Tarantulas Dream TV with your host, with your boy
Samba.
Hell yeah. So let's get into it. Let me fade out some of this rock and roll music, you know, this rock and roll jam. It's Monday, my dudes. I hope everyone is doing fine out there. I hope everyone had an okay weekend. I mean, all things considered, it was quite the weekend, I have to say. It was quite the week, actually, and it looks like, you know, things might be looking up a little bit. I'd say looking up a little bit because obviously we're not out of the mess yet, but it was definitely a feeling of celebration this week in a way. So let's start off with some headlines. And of course, the big headline, the big boy, the granddaddy of headlines, at least for America. I'd say for the world as well in a way, but definitely for America. And that is coming from CNN.com. Biden defeats Trump in an election he made about character of the nation and the president. America has chosen Democrat Joe Biden as its 46th president, CNN projects, turning at a time of national crisis to a man whose character was forged by aching personal tragedy and who is pledging to restore calm and truth after Donald Trump's exhausting and manic single term. In a victory speech Saturday night in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, Biden said he was humbled by the trust America had placed in him and reached out to those Americans who did not vote for him. I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple of times myself. But now let's give each other a chance, Biden said. This is the time to heal in America. California Senator Kamala Harris, his running mate, who will make history as the first woman, the first black person, and the first person of South Asian descent to become vice president. So there you go. Regardless of how you feel about the electoral process, essentially our two-party country at this point, it's been a sigh of relief to think that we might be kicking out the old orange boy out of the White House here in a couple months. There's a lot of things that could happen in between then, and a lot of damage that still could be done, and we also have to be ready to hold Biden accountable. So we're not out of the woods yet, but, no more Trump. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm happy for that. So let's move on to our second headline of the night. Some more good news, actually. This one's coming from CNBC.com. Pfizer, BioNTech say COVID vaccine is more than 90% effective. A great day for science and humanity. Pfizer and BioNTech announced Monday their coronavirus vaccine was more than 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 among those without evidence of prior infection, hailing the development as a great day for science and humanity. I think we can see light at the end of the tunnel, Pfizer chairman and CEO Dr. Albert Bourla told CNBC's Meg Terrell on Squawk Box. I believe this is likely the most significant medical advance in the last 100 years, if you count the impact this will have on public health and global economy. The announcement comes as drug makers and research centers scrambled to deliver a safe and effective vaccine to help bring an end to the coronavirus pandemic that has claimed over 1.2 million lives worldwide. Scientists are hoping for a coronavirus vaccine that is at least 75% effective, while White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci has said one that is 50 or 60% effective would be acceptable. So yes, good news coming out of Pfizer and BioNTech. It looks like their vaccine is very effective. Wow, 90%. I mean, that's pretty good. I know it's early in the announcement, and I'm sure maybe things could potentially change, the longer these studies go. But that's some pretty good news there. There was, rumors that we could have a vaccine out by the end of the month. In fact, another vaccine company or vaccine tester, maker, distributor, Oxford AstraZeneca, their vaccine will potentially be out by the year's end as well. So we might have two different COVID-19 vaccines out by the end of the year. But having said that, we actually have still an ongoing coronavirus vaccine trial here in the great city of Tucson, Arizona. And a number of weeks ago, I had updated you all on the status of that vaccine trial. And we had a listener of the show call in and kind of give us their take, their experience being part of the vaccine trial. And they are back again tonight. Matt Blankenship, you still there?
I'm here, sir.
All right. So you let me know a couple days ago, or I saw on your Instagram stream that looked like you had or you told me that you had gotten the second shot, or you had gotten another dose of potentially this new COVID vaccine, and you wanted to kind of give an update on kind of your experience being part of this trial.
Yeah. So it was always planned that a month after my first shot that I'd come in for a second in-house visit, which would require a second shot. So I went in and did that. It was very much like the first go-around. I was given a physical. My blood was drawn. I was given a COVID test, and then I was administered the shot. And then they watched me for about a half an hour and took my vitals, and then I was on my way.
Wow. Okay. And how you feeling?
I'm feeling great now. I was not feeling great, I would say, for 20. So from hour 0, from the moment I got the shot, to hour 12 hours after that, I felt fairly fine.
Yeah.
And then the next morning when I woke up, I didn't feel too great, to be honest with you. I had typical light, feverish, achy feeling that you would get kind of like post-flu vaccine,
Yeah. Wow.
And so I wasn't feeling too hot. I took the day off work, went home and rested, took a nap, and woke up and felt completely fine. So I'd say 30 hours after the moment I got the shot, I felt good. But there was not hairy. It was just I felt not great for 8 hours.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's good news that, you had maybe a little bit of kind of, it sounds like you kind of had maybe some pretty standard kind of potential vaccine side effects. I don't know. It didn't sound too crazy, too bad. I mean, I know I actually just got a flu shot not that long ago, and I didn't quite feel that bad or anything, but I definitely kind of felt a little achy and whatnot. So that's probably just something normal when getting
I wasn't too concerned. I wasn't too concerned about it.
Yeah.
I did have to take some ibuprofen just to kind of like ease myself along.
You got to take the edge off a little bit, just slice the edge right off. Just to clarify, so the vaccine trial here in town, that's for the Moderna vaccine?
Correct.
Okay. And did you hear read the news today about the Pfizer vaccine saying they released some study information saying that it was 90% effective in their trials?
I did see that, and that was great news. I mean, that hopefully gives us a path towards potential containment of this virus.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the more vaccines we have in development, and the more that we can bring to this sort of high percentage of effectiveness against COVID-19 is a good thing. So I'm glad that it looks like the Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine is doing well, and I'm hoping that the Moderna one will pass with flying colors, or along with all the other ones as well. And I want to thank you for taking part of this trial and kind of sharing your experiences with the Tarantulas Dream TV audience. Now, when's the next shot for you, or what's the next step in the trial for you?
So that's it for shots. I think the Moderna and the AstraZeneca ones are both 2-shot trials. Mm-hmm. And then the next step is I come in at the end of this month, and essentially they're just going to draw some blood, and that's going to be, and then essentially like my in-person visits will diminish greatly. Like the next one after this will probably be like months down the line. Okay.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks again. Thanks for spending some time with me on the phone, letting us know how you're doing. Again, if you have any other updates, if you're feeling good, feeling bad, I don't know, just anything. The more information we keep out there, the better. We're coming up to the end of the year, and these vaccines are they're not promised to be out by the end of the year, but they're rumored to potentially be rolling out, some of them anyway. So it's definitely good to keep this fresh in our minds and the information flowing. So again, thank you for giving me a phone call. I hope you stay on the path, you feel good, and let me know if there's any other updates.
Sure, man. Thank you for having me, and yeah, I'll keep you tuned if anything changes.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
There you go. There's Matt Blankenship giving us a little update on the vaccine trial, the Moderna vaccine trial here in Tucson, Arizona. It looks like it's still going well, and I'm glad to report on this Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine, 90% effective. That's very good news. There's been some good news coming out of the world lately. There's also been some bad news, but there's been some good news. We gotta dwell on some of the good news sometimes, because the world is a vampire, as they say. So anyway, that was headlines for the night. So let's get into the alien autopsy. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to bring you this story of the alien autopsy, and here we go. Let's do this. So what am I talking about? What is the alien autopsy? Now, this is coming from wikipedia.org. The Alien Autopsy is a 17-minute black and white film supposedly depicting a secret medical examination or autopsy of an alien by the United States military. It was released in 1995 by London-based entrepreneur Ray Santilli. He presented it as an authentic autopsy on the body of an alien recovered from the 1947 crash of a flying disc near Roswell, New Mexico. The film footage was allegedly supplied to him by a retired military cameraman who wished to remain anonymous. Now, Ray Santilli, who was born on September 30th, 1958, is a British musician, record, and film producer. Now, the release of the footage and the subsequent TV special was widely discussed and very popular at the time, or around 1995, with Time magazine stating, "The film sparked a debate with an intensity not lavished on any home movie since the Zapruder film," which is some big news. That's a big claim coming from Time magazine, comparing the scrutiny of the alien autopsy footage with the Zapruder film, the film showing the amateur film showing the assassination of JFK. So big words coming out of Time magazine. Now, on August 28th, 1995, the Fox network aired a 1-hour TV special called Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction. The special, hosted by Jonathan Frakes, who is most famous for his role on Star Trek The Next Generation as Commander William T. Riker, went into detail on the discovery of the footage, its origins, exactly where the supposed creature came from, and more. The special was aired twice, garnering high ratings in its time slot. Now, back in 1995, I was 9 years old. In 1995, but I do remember watching at least the first one, the first airing of the Alien Autopsy Fact or Fiction, with my parents and my brother, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Being a young UFO nut like me, I just ate it up, and I could have watched it over and over again, but I didn't tape it. So I only got to watch it once, and I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. So when I kind of popped in my brain, I really wanted to dive into it a little deeper now that I'm an adult and I can do the research a little bit. So let's get into some of the details when it comes to this alien autopsy footage. Now, the alien being on the videotape of the alleged autopsy the autopsy was conducted in Roswell, New Mexico. Now, apparently this creature was part of the rumored 1947 Roswell UFO crash. Now, the crash, which is now officially classified as a downed nuclear test surveillance balloon from Project Mogul, which was a secret government project that sent microphones on high-altitude balloons to monitor Soviet nuclear tests, was kept hidden from the public. So that's the official story of what the Roswell crash was. There was a crash, but the government is saying it is not a UFO crash. It was a downed high-altitude balloon that was used to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. So take that for what you will. Now, British film producer Ray Santilli, on the hunt for footage of Elvis Presley, came across footage of an alien autopsy. The film was donated and or sold to Santilli by a retired military cameraman who wished to remain anonymous to avoid media attention, as well as a potential investigation by the government and potentially for tax payments. So I do have a clip of Ray Santilli talking about the footage as well as the cameraman himself. So let's get into some of this footage.
An alien autopsy is always going to be the subject of ridicule. Who's going to believe an alien autopsy is an alien autopsy? It's just a ridiculous subject.
Ray Santilli owns a small music and video distribution company in London. He was acquiring some 1950s rock and roll footage when an elderly American cameraman he had been dealing with said, "By the way, I have something else to show you."
And, we looked at it, and it was just the most incredible piece of film. And obviously, my first impression is, this can't be real.
What Santilli saw and eventually purchased were reels of black and white film showing an autopsy being performed on a strange humanoid being. The cameraman, who claims to have had a top military clearance, told Santilli that in 1947 he was flown urgently to Roswell, where he filmed the recovery of several of these beings, both alive and dead, as well as the autopsy of one of them.
He set aside certain canisters of film which he felt there were problems in processing, and they needed special treatment during processing. The rest he sent straight back to Washington. And when he eventually processed the remaining canisters, he tried and went to great lengths to try and get Washington to come and pick the reels of film up, but they didn't. He kept it in a cardboard box. Simple as that. And he kept it in his archive. What he saw was a disc, a flying disc that had crashed. It was on his back. He saw all these creatures that he calls freaks laying outside of the vehicle, screaming in pain for most of it. But he can't tell you where they came from. He doesn't know. While I was in his house, as you would expect with anyone of that age, he's got a great deal of memorabilia. There's photographs on the wall, there's his photo albums, there's his diary. I mean, you can see his enrolment papers, his discharge papers, and he seemed a genuine enough person.
So why is Santilli unwilling to reveal the cameraman's identity?
Our agreement with the cameraman was to protect his privacy, which is how we acquired the footage in the first place. If he can get some kind of assurance that he's not going to be hounded by people, he may want to come out. I don't know. He may be watching this program right now and thinking, "What am I going to do?" His concern is, firstly, he's in his 80s. He just wants a peaceful life. That's the first thing. Secondly, he's accepted money, which is cash, and what effect is that going to have in terms of his tax position as well?
There you go. That was Ray Santilli talking about the alien autopsy footage and how he acquired it from a mystery cameraman, a mystery camera person. So, again, take that for what you will. Whether you believe Ray Santilli or not, the footage is fairly captivating, and we're going to get into that right now. Now, I do want to put a little warning on it. I noticed that when I posted the initial kind of like a teaser trailer ad thing that I usually post on Fridays or Saturdays, that I noticed that people were skipping through the first couple little videos, which were essentially just shots of the supposed extraterrestrial creature. And so I'm putting a little warning on it. The footage is essentially what I had posted before. There's a little more. There's going to be some more footage, obviously. And it's not particularly graphic in a way. I mean, it's black and white. I definitely feel like there's more graphic footage out in the world. But if you're easily kind of like grossed out by like body wounds or just kind of seeing, I don't know, potentially extraterrestrial creatures, then yeah, you may want to not watch the stream for a couple minutes. You can listen, but maybe not watch the stream. So we're going to get into some of the footage right now. So the complete footage, which clocks in at roughly 20 minutes in length and in black and white, shows two surgeons in contamination suits slowly examining and conducting an autopsy of a supposed dead extraterrestrial being. A third individual is seen studying the two men from behind a glass partition while a camera operator films the autopsy. The creature appears to be roughly 4 feet tall with a large head, distended stomach, 6 digits on both hands and feet, and what appears to be female genitalia. Now, during the Fox special, the genitals were blurred out, as you saw in that last clip. So this is the first clip I want to play you. It's the first little clip where it kind of just pans around the creature so you can kind of see essentially the full body of the creature. So let's get into that clip right here. So yeah, so there's no audio for the video. It was shot, it was apparently shot around 1947. There was no film at that, or no audio attached to the film. So there it is. I'm just going to narrate this. There's the legs. It looks like there's a little wound on the legs. The feet do look very human, except they do have 6 digits on them. The stomach is very distended. The head seems fairly large for the body. I will say that the actual body itself doesn't appear to be quite as small as you would imagine the body would be. The kind of the general story of UFOs, especially like alien greys with their large black eyes, the kind of the typical traditional UFO extraterrestrial creature, they tend to describe them as fairly short beings, like fairly short creatures. While this one at least looks maybe around 4 to 5, about 4.5 feet, I would estimate, which is not that tall, but it's definitely not as small as I would have imagined. It looks like fairly large, but anyway. So the right leg of the being seems to have suffered massive damage, rumored to be from the crash, although some believe it could have been caused by a weapon of some type. So this is a little clip of the leg right here. So this one kind of shows the leg a little bit, a little more detail. It definitely looks wounded. A big chunk of it's missing. The body is very mangled looking. It looks like it's potentially bruised. So definitely, if this creature was involved in an accident, a crash of some kind, this definitely seems like fairly standard injuries from a crash. So here's the surgeon kind of examining the wound before it looks like the film is overexposed or whatnot. And that's kind of a better shot right there of the operating room or the examination room. It's fairly sparse, not a lot going on in the room, and essentially that's the whole footage right there. About 20 minutes of them kind of walking around, examining the creature. They do kind of operate on the creature, kind of pull out some organs and whatnot, but there you go. So now throughout the video, the two surgeons remove different organs, none of which any of the medical experts on Fox seem to be able to identify as human in any way, as well as removing a portion of the skull to retrieve the brain. So that's kind of mostly the footage there. It's essentially just kind of the surgeons doing an autopsy. There's really no crazy moments. I will say that the footage is fairly plain, which kind of lends some credibility or credence to the idea that it would be real. Just that there's no real flash to it. It's just very simple, something that you would have imagined a military videographer or photographer would have filmed back in 1947, just to kind of film the operation, the autopsy, for posterity. So, you know, in a way, it definitely lended it some credence back in 1995 when you were just you and your family were just sitting down for dinner, probably warm some Hungry Man meals, maybe some little kids meals, sitting down with your TV trays watching an alien autopsy on Fox. There you go. That's what you would have watched. So that's part of it. So we're about to take our little top of the hour, bottom of the hour break here, but I do want to check out some of these comments real quick before I take my break. Trial and Error Collective, hello there. Thanks for the update, Matt. Yes, Matt Blankenship, if you're listening, thank you for updating us. Thank you for keeping me in mind when it comes to the vaccine trial that you're a part of. I'm very happy to have a friend like you who is willing to kind of share the details and, you know, be transparent about this kind of thing. Eggs and Eyes, hello, Eggs and Eyes. I nominate Matt for Tucson's MVP this year. Correction, MVP. Well, what's an MVP? My bloody Palantine? I don't know. But yeah, Matt Blankenship for Tucson MVP. Maybe when we're allowed to do like live concerts again and in Emo Night returns, maybe we can have like a celebration of Matt Blankenship doing the COVID vaccine trial. I don't know. We'll have to see. That might be a long ways away, unfortunately. Anyway, so let's get into the song of the night. So the song of the night comes from the band Slush from Melbourne, Australia. The song is Middle Name from their 2019 debut EP. My name is Samba. You're watching Tarantulas Dream TV. When we come back, it'll be Open Lines. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to shoot the ish with Samba over here about the alien autopsy, or if you want to talk about your week this past week, you know, it was a very stressful, potentially nail-biting week, depending on how you feel about the elections and kind of, you know, the whole thing in general. And if you want to talk about it with old Samba over here, you're free to do so. But anyway, let's get to the song of the night. Please enjoy the band Slush.
All
Oh, hell yeah. That was the band Slush with their song Middle Name from their 2019 debut EP. You can find them at slush-band.bandcamp.com. If you want to throw some slushy bones, some cherry slush, some, I don't know, watermelon slush, I don't know, whatever kind of slush you like, throw slush, some slushy bones. Anyways, it's 9:31. It is open lines, 520-704-7820. If you want to chat with old Samba over here about the alien autopsy, about the presidential election, about the COVID-19 vaccine, about puppy dogs and puppy dog tails and frog butts, whatever you want to talk about, Samba's here for you. So let's get back to some of these comments before we get back into the alien autopsy. Trial and Error Collective, I'd be mortified if I were a kid and saw that on TV, like just casually show that on the news. Damn. Well, it wasn't on the news. It was a TV special. So it wasn't just like, oh, let's watch the news, kids. Maybe there's some fun stuff in the world, and then suddenly they just show an alien autopsy. It was a Fox TV special. So, you know, I guess you could just stumble upon it on accident, but. You know, it was a very popular special. So I would say most definitely you had a lot of American families just kind of tuning in, you know, while they're eating their, like, you know, their fish sticks and gravy or whatever you eat with fish sticks. I don't know. Fish sticks and tartar sauce, fish sticks and lemon juice. I don't know. Eggs and Eyes, back when the news was cool. Aliens, yeah, we're talking about it. F it. Oh, gotcha. I mean, that was kind of the general sensibility, I think, of Fox back in the 90s anyway. I mean, they had it's kind of weird to think because really they're, in terms of basic, you know, cable TV stations, you know, like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all that kind of stuff. You know, to think that they're one of those major kind of TV networks was kind of seen as subversive is kind of crazy because now they're all kind of just showing the same crap. But back in the 90s, yeah, Fox was kind of the bad boy of network television, having stuff like I said, The Simpsons and Married with Children, as well as the alien autopsy footage. So there you go. Fox was the cool kid in class. Anyway, so let's get back into some of this alien autopsy stuff because we still got a long way to go. Now, what is some of the evidence of the authenticity of this film? Because you know, there is some evidence that this maybe is real. Now, various experts in the field of ufology have stood behind the footage, claiming it's real and shows an actual alien autopsy being performed, including Grant Cameron, Richard Dolan, and Linda Moulton Howe. Now, Howe, you might remember her name, is the same UFO investigative reporter who had obtained supposed crashed UFO material from Art Bell, who subsequently sold the material to Tom DeLonge of TTSA. So our boy Tom DeLonge coming back into the conversation. He doesn't seem to be too far away when it comes to UFO discussion, even when it's something they had to do back in 1995. Now, the clock seen in the footage, which was a General Electric model, was period correct, as well as the Bell Standard model telephone from 1937. So the kind of the little details in the footage, let me kind of go back and I can actually play a little bit of the footage as well and show you. Well, there's some of the leg there again, but if you kind of go a little further into the footage, you'll see the clock in the telephone in the background. So there you go. So you got the clock in the upper left, the telephone on the right. Apparently those were dated to the correct time periods. So those are sort of some evidence kind of leading towards the idea that this is real footage. So there you go. So that kind of helps the case a little bit. So beyond that, dating the film stock. Now, dating the film stock itself also lends some credibility to the footage as well. So I do have a clip of an employee of Kodak kind of talking about the film stock.
We took the film to Larry Cate, who spent 16 years in the manufacturing division of Kodak.
Eastman Kodak Company, in trying to distinguish the age of the film, keeps track of the date of manufacture, and this is done through geometric codes. And the symbols on the edge code were a square and a triangle, which were used in Rochester, New York by Eastman Kodak Company to denote the following years of manufacture, 1927 or 1947 or 1967.
So the film stock itself could be from 1947. What about the way it was shot? What can the very look of the film reveal about its authenticity?
It would make much sense to think that, yes, this film could have been shot in the late 40s, early 50s.
Paulo Kerke-Uze is senior curator of motion pictures at Eastman House in Rochester, New York.
I'm often asked how difficult it is to fake a film. The answer is no. You cannot fake a motion picture that easily. It would require an amount of technical know-how, of sophistication, that would make the operation not worthwhile.
So there you go. That was a little clip actually from the special itself with some film experts, more or less, talking about kind of dating the film and saying that it did date to the correct time period, around 1927, 47, or 67. So three kind of different time periods, but definitely within at least the two-thirds of it is kind of within the realm of the correct time period. So there you go. Now, on a September 1995 episode of Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, it featured Bob Shell, who was a photo analyst who once worked for the CIA. Shell commented on claims made by Kodak from the special, as well as revealing he had a piece of the film himself. So here's a clip from that episode of Coast to Coast, where Bob Shell kind of goes into detail of what he thinks about the Kodak claims of the film stock itself.
What Fox has the Autopsy, which we've seen a small part of. They have this, I think it's about 2.5 minutes long, of the pieces of the wreckage. And they also have what's been referred to as the tent scene. A scene of one of the aliens lying on a cot or on top of a box. You can't really tell because it's dimly lighted.
Right.
That was shot the night of the crash in one of the tents under the light of emergency lanterns. And some technicians are working on the creature, but exactly what they're doing, it's very hard to determine because the lighting is so poor.
Well, gee, Bob, if this is a hoax, it's beginning to sound awfully elaborate.
Oh, it is. If it's a hoax, it's elaborate and must have been extremely expensive to do.
And so there have been complaints of, well, why, they say, wasn't it in color? They had color then. They had The Wizard of Oz. And so why didn't they use color?
Well, the cameraman's version of this, as I understand it, now this particular thing I have not confirmed with him directly, this is just my understanding, is that he was not taking what we would call the primary documentation. This film was more of a moving chronicle to show exactly the sequence of things and what was going on.
Right.
When he paused between rolls of film, his rolls of film were about 2 minutes and 40 seconds long.
Right.
He had to pause to reload the camera between those rolls. When he took that pause to reload, there was a still photographer who came in and was taking high-quality still images, some of which would have been in color.
I see.
And that would have been the primary documentation, supported by this 16-millimeter film.
And that was occurring in the interim as he reloaded.
Right.
Okay, but the question went to this. Would it have been normal to have used black and white film at that time for that kind of application?
Color existed, but color had to be sent out for processing. For reasons of security, they wanted this film processed internally. And the only thing they were equipped to process internally easily was black and white.
That makes sense.
So that's one of the reasons that they didn't use color for this.
There you go. That was a clip from Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell talking to Bob Shell, a photo analyst who claims to have worked for the CIA, kind of commenting on the film stock itself and kind of what he believes are some of the evidence of its authenticity. Now, Shell also goes on to reveal that he has seen additional footage that was not included in the Fox special, which was definitely a juicy detail. So here's a clip of Shell kind of talking about this additional footage that wasn't aired on TV.
Why not ask you? You have seen, I guess the audience should now know, you have seen at least 20 minutes of the film that none of the rest of us have yet seen, including apparent scenes of the wreckage. Is that correct?
Well, it's scenes of debris. There's no scenes that I have seen of the field where the thing crashed.
Right, I understand.
But I've seen film showing pieces of the wreckage on tables being lifted up and turned around to different angles and displayed for the camera.
Wow. As told by that lady on the Fox show, she said she sat and played with the piece for several minutes. That sort of thing, I take it.
Well, it's interesting that I think the reason Fox did not show the film of the debris is because the debris does not look like the the descriptions given by any of the witnesses.
Okay.
The I-beams, as you saw in the program that Jesse Marcel was describing,
yes,
are fairly narrow, skinny little things that look like they're made out of balsa wood.
Huh.
The I-beams that we have in the film are fairly large. I'd say maybe 2.5 inches tall, maybe 3 inches wide, obviously made of some quite strong metal, with the writing not painted on them in some color, but the writing is actually part of the metal and raised above the surface of the metal.
Wow.
And the writing looks nothing like the hieroglyphics that Marcel has described.
Can you describe it?
Yes, it looks like ancient Greek.
Ancient Greek?
It isn't, but I mean, it's that type of, it's letters. It looks like an alphabet, angular and circular. One person who's looked at the quote writing says he thinks it's a form of digital encoded, and it's digitally encoded information.
Well, now nobody was doing that in 1947.
Oh, no, nobody was. But again, another person has looked at it and says it's ancient Phoenician, so...
That's remarkable.
There you go. There's Bob Shell also talking about seeing some additional footage. Now, they were talking about a clip that was in the Fox special where this guy, he had a little kind of, it looked like a little piece of like a plastic kind of tube or a piece of just kind of a little bar or something, and on it was this like writing engraved on it. Now, it was just symbols. It wasn't any kind of actual language that we could kind of parse through and understand. And apparently it was a recreation of these symbols that were found on the wreckage, on the actual ship. Now, this is a kind of a common theme through a lot of UFO stories where writing is seen or witnessed on the ships themselves. And the writing tends to look kind of like hieroglyphics or like, I don't know, Bob Shell was saying it looked like ancient Greek or something. But essentially it's something that we're not able to decipher, to understand, but it is some form of writing or symbolism found on these crashed or these craft occasionally. So this does seem to kind of hold, throughout all these different UFO stories, as well as the alien autopsy story and its link to the 1947 Roswell crash. So again, all these things are tying themselves into each other. So again, that can lend itself to an air of credibility as these stories kind of follow the same ideas and plot points, or again, maybe these are all just kind of everyone's just kind of following the same template. I don't know, but there you go. So my last little clip of Bob Shell. Shell claims that Fox is in possession of additional footage that could potentially air in the future, as well as addressing the reason why the footage was in black and white and poorly composed. So this is the last clip from the Coast to Coast episode with Art Bell.
With regard now to the alien autopsy thing, Kodak went on Fox and said there was a little square followed by a triangle. This will date the film to either 1927, 47, or 67 regarding the manufacture of the film. Now, there's a lot of new information since then, and you're the guy who has got it.
Yeah, well, it's important to note that on the Fox program, the only Kodak person who was willing to talk to them on camera was Larry Cates, who is, in fact, a salesperson, not a technical person whatsoever.
Okay.
In their Hollywood office.
All right.
Not to detract from Mr. Cates, it's just that that's not what he is.
In other words, he was not a photo analyst.
No, and the real photo analysts from Kodak have not been willing to comment to anybody on camera. Kodak has only done a physical examination, meaning that they've just looked at a piece of film.
Film or leader?
Film.
Film.
I'm not sure where this leader bit came from.
Well, in other words, that portion which would be there prior to the first images actually appearing.
Yeah, technically speaking, leader is a
film.
Extra material that's spliced onto the film.
Oh, I see, okay.
This is a continuous piece of the roll of film.
All right.
And they look at that just to look at the edge marking. Well, anybody can look at the edge marking and see a triangle and a square. That's not really any analysis.
Somehow you got an actual piece of the film, didn't you, with an image?
Well, I've had several different pieces of the film. I have a piece in my possession at the moment.
Aha.
But different pieces of the film are present in the hands of different analysts who are doing different things with them.
All right.
And my job was to try to determine if the film was actually from 1947.
Right.
And based on preliminary, and I say preliminary because I have not finished the test, based on preliminary analysis, it is, because it's the right chemical type of film base for 1947, and it corresponds in all the other characteristics to Kodak Super XX, which is the type of film the cameraman says it is, from 1947.
Boy, that's big news if it's true. Now, a lot of people say, well, fine, maybe somebody saved some old 1947 film and exposed it here in the last several years or whatever. Would the film have had to have been exposed roughly in that time period? That's very critical.
Well, there are several points to know about. One of them is that Super XX is a very high-speed film, very sensitive film. And the higher the speed of the film, the less shelf life it has. So this film had a very short shelf life. And we're looking, for the most part here, at images of very high quality. There's not a lot of fog. Fog is what builds up as film ages before it's exposed and processed.
Right.
This film shows very low fog levels. And this puts us within a fairly narrow window. Now, I can't say that this film was absolutely exposed and processed in 1947, but I can say it was exposed and processed while it was still quite fresh, which in this case probably means a window of 2-3 years at the most.
Well, that's very narrow. In other words, somebody could not have done this last year, say.
It was not done recently.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. And that's my last little clip there from Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. With Bob Schell, he was a photo analyst who apparently worked for the CIA, who was in possession of some of this supposed alien autopsy footage. And I think throughout the interview is actually fairly long. It's the Coast to Coast AM used to be upwards of 5 hours on the air. And so I believe this interview lasted for at least 2 of those hours. So that was just a small taste of the interview with Bob Schell. Now, this episode can be found on, I believe, on YouTube. So if you'd like to check out the full episode, just Google Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, Alien Autopsy or something like that, and you should be able to find it. Now, special effects makeup artist Stan Winston was asked to comment on the film. Now, he stated, "My initial reaction when I first saw the piece was that it was not real, that it was a body that someone had created as a prop. When they started the autopsy and started cutting this body open, and knowing how difficult it is for us in the live effects world to actually simulate cutting skin, I started looking at it and saying to myself, if in fact it isn't real, I would be real proud of creating an image like that myself today." Now, there is definitely more footage of Stan Winston and his kind of a part of his special effects team in the special, and it kind of shows them watching the footage, and they all seem to be fairly amazed at what they're watching and kind of talking amongst themselves on how maybe they could do that. But ultimately, it does kind of feel like Stan Winston is kind of throwing his hat behind the idea that, that this is a very hard thing to fake, at least in the way and kind of with the reality, the kind of the realness to the footage itself. He's saying that it seems like it's potentially real. Now, this is from mysteriousuniverse.org. There's now a new twist in the alien autopsy footage that indicates that the footage was in fact real. A leaked 2001 memo was supposedly sent to aerospace billionaire Robert Bigelow from physicist Eric Davis that alleges a former CIA scientist named Kit Green was briefed 3 times during and after his tenure at the CIA on topics relevant to UFOs and the Roswell incident alien autopsy. It is believed that the leaked information originated from late astronaut Edgar Mitchell's archives. Part of the memo read, "After Kit left the CIA, he was called into the Pentagon by a person in uniform." It went on to say, "This person showed Kit the alien autopsy photos and reports, etc. That's when, in 2001, Kit evaluated the information and gave his professional opinion on what he had been briefed on. Apparently, the evidence that was shown to Kit was of the same corpse that was seen in the 1995 video from Ray Santilli. The final summary of Kit's evaluation read, "The alien autopsy film/video is real. The alien cadaver is real, and the cadaver seen in the film/video is the same as the photos Kit saw at the 1987/88 Pentagon briefing." An even more shocking revelation is that Kit admitted that alien forensic forensic tissue and organs are being kept at Walter Reed Armed Forces Institute for Pathology Medical Museum, located in Washington, D.C. So that was a fairly new development. I mean, new as in it was from 2001, but I mean, the special aired in 1995, and a number of years later, it looks like there's someone kind of backing up the idea that they've seen this footage before, seen these photos before, back in 1987 or 1988 with a Pentagon briefing. So I don't know, it's getting a little spicy here when it comes to this alien autopsy footage. Now, I do have quite the list here of more evidence, but unfortunately it's to kind of turn this whole case on its head, evidence of it being a hoax. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this list of evidence for Wednesday's show, because we do have more stuff to talk about on Wednesday, and it looks like I'm running out of time here, about 8 minutes left on the stream, so I don't want to get cut off trying to explain some of the evidence of maybe this being a hoax. So instead I'm going to get to some of these comments. It looks like it's been popping off over here since I've been kind of in reading my little kind of factoid notepad over here, so let me get to some of these comments. Let's see. Eggs and Eyes, spoken like a true vegan gravy. Yes, gravy and fish sticks. I know nothing of the fish stick life. Trial and Error Collective. Interesting how you said the alien has female genitalia. Is that common to think this type of alien has human bits? Also, what do you call this alien again? A gray something or other? So I had called this particular creature an alien gray because it tends to be kind of the default alien creature that I think a lot of people recognize and talk about when they talk about like crashed UFO creatures, alien abductions, that kind of thing. It tends to be the traditional creature with big eyes, big black dark eyes, a big old head, kind of a little slit for a mouth, that kind of thing. So this creature on the table seems to kind of have a very similar appearance to that kind of description. So I'm going to classify this particular footage that it contains an alien gray. That's what I would say. And when I said that it had female genitalia. Now, among the UFO community, I don't think there's really a consensus on the idea of whether extraterrestrials actually have genitalia. I think it tends to veer towards the idea that they don't, which kind of leads to the theory that maybe, at least with the grays, that they're manufactured in some way or cloned or created artificially, that they don't give birth in any way. They don't come from an egg or something. I don't know. There's no real sexual activity amongst alien grays. But in the footage, there does seem to be sort of an area in between the legs that kind of resembles maybe female genitalia that was censored on TV. So someone else at the Fox network also thought potentially it looked like female genitalia as well. But if you look up the footage on YouTube, you can find the uncensored footage and kind of judge for yourself if you'd like to do that. Eggs and Eyes, yeah, I wanted the same trial and error. Yeah, what would the benefit of such a hoax be anyway? TV ratings, meh. Honestly, yeah, that's kind of the dice throwing when it comes to this kind of thing. If it is a hoax, but you get millions of people to watch it, which is what Fox did, millions and millions of people watched this thing, so much so that they had to air kind of an encore showing of it. Whether it was real or not, it caught the nation's attention in a way that I think was probably very surprising to Fox. So the benefit of being a hoax is for them, it's just ratings and more people watching their TV station. For Ray Santilli, if he hoaxed it, which we'll get into on Wednesday, it could have been for the fame. I mean, he was also a film music video producer as well, or a music producer of some kind. So, no publicity is bad publicity, I guess, in a way. So maybe this was a way to kind of rise above the rest, to get his name out there. There's a lot of different reasons why there would be a quote-unquote benefit of this being a hoax. Trial and Error Collective, right, especially if it is from that time, because I never heard until it was found so many years later. Or I think that might have been a response to a different comment. Honeycomb Viper, Eggs and Eyes, I think it may have been baby stepping toward disclosure. It would have been easy to backpedal and use a hoax excuse after gauging public reaction / opinion. I do have to agree with you, Honeycomb Viper, when it comes to the idea of soft disclosure, the idea of slowly trickling out information, kind of getting people used to the idea of extraterrestrials. That's kind of the whole idea behind soft disclosure. For the handful of decades we've had movies, I'm not even gonna say a handful, it's been a long time where we've had film and TV shows, popular media that have to do with the idea of UFOs coming to Earth, communication with humans, war with humans. It's a popular subject in science fiction. The idea of soft disclosure essentially encompasses that whole idea that all these little bits of information seen as entertainment is actually just getting us used to the idea of extraterrestrials. So something like this on a nationwide scale on the Fox network, could have been kind of trying to get people used to the idea of aliens in popular media. Eggs and eyes, or potentially early psyops. Everything's always a psyop for sure. I mean, there's no evidence for being a psyop, but again, a psyop and soft disclosure kind of go hand in hand, I would say. Honeycomb Viper, wonder how this info would be made public nowadays, considering deep fakes are a thing. Good question. Good kind of thought. I don't know. I think that's kind of the double-edged sword when it comes to modern technology and kind of having cell phones in our pocket that shoot 4K, 8K video and unlimited amount of time and it gets uploaded to the cloud. We have this ability to videotape, or not videotape, but video anomalies in the sky or around you at a moment's notice, but because everyone's so inundated with the idea that CGI is a thing, deep fakes, kind of these hoaxes are just kind of everywhere, that it's very hard to parse through and find the real footage that's considered the genuine article, because really that is kind of the point, is trying to find the footage that's real amongst all the sea of garbage. And again, that could also potentially be a psyop or a way of kind of discrediting real footage by inundating everyone with all this fake stuff that essentially makes it harder to trust anything. So there you go. Celia waving. Hello there, Celia. We missed you on the stream, missed you at the house. Celia she's taking a little sabbatical. She's not even in the state. So thank you for tuning in here on Tarantula's Dream TV. Eggs and Eyes, dude, nobody would buy it probably. Special effects are too sophisticated now. Yes, again, that's like I was saying. Special effects have kind of ruined the UFO investigation movement, or the amateur UFO investigative movement. Just because it's so hard to prove to people that something is genuine and the real deal, because it is so easy to just kind of fake something. I don't know. I mean, I could green screen myself out of my clothes right now and be walking around with like a jellyfish body, and you couldn't prove that it wasn't me. But that you just have to take my word for it. Special effects are too cool. Let's see. Eggs and Eyes, were the organs removed human-like? So that is addressed in the special, and the experts that they have on, who are like, I don't know, pathology, surgeons, whatnot. They say that they are not able to identify the organs. That they say when there's actually footage of them kind of cutting into the supposed extraterrestrial's like brain, like the skull cap, and using a saw. The expert says that they're not able to identify that organ as the brain. Even they're saying that it looks like sort of like it would theoretically be the brain, but it doesn't look anything like a human's brain, so therefore they're not able to identify it. So there you go. So that's the end of the show for this evening. I'll be back on Wednesday with more alien autopsy footage, more alien autopsy talk, as well as some footage of other kind of more well-known internet aliens and their stories. And we're going to kind of watch some of this footage and kind of cut through the mess and the murk and see what's real and what's not. Please tune in tonight from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. over on 99.1 FM Downtown Radio for Tarantula's Dream Radio. I'll be over there in the next hour or so, but please stay safe out there, wear a mask, social distance if you can, and remember, it is a weird, weird world. Take care.